Hey Jazz, welcome to the Power Talk podcast.
Hey Caitlin, how are you?
I am so good. I'm so excited to have you here.
Me too. It's been a while since we caught up, so I'm really looking forward to it.
I know. I'm just so looking forward to chatting with my friend. So it doesn't even feel like we're doing anything work related.
I know, literally, it just feels like a conversation. I'm really excited.
I know. And I don't even remember when we met. Was that a year ago or 6 months ago or?
Maybe 6 months ago, I think it was when we officially started like connecting over our
Yeah.
like businesses and where we were at. But it honestly like has gone by pretty fast, so I can't even remember.
No, it's crazy. I
Yeah.
I think time is like an illusion because I have no idea what's going on.
Me too. Especially like when you own your own business and you're like in the vortex of it and in the day to day and it's all virtual, like it's online.
Mhm.
It's so hard to like be like tied to the concept of time all the time. I just like keep forgetting what happened
Yeah,
when.
me
Yeah.
too. Speaking of time, when did you start your business? When I met you, you were still in your 9 to 5. And
Hmm.
real quick, I just want to compliment you because I think most business coaches are a little, from what I've seen, can be like a little sketchy when they have a 9 to 5 and they're building a side business and they're not transparent about that. When it's like,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Like, that's what I did. That's what most people should do so that you're not overwhelming your nervous system when you want to build a business.
Hmm.
You're doing it on the side until you feel like, okay, I can jump off the ledge and go full time in my business if that's even what you want to do,
Yeah.
without totally overwhelming your nervous system, feeling like you're in that like fight or flight survival. I don't have money to pay my bills. Like that's not a great place to start a business.
Hmm.
So most people do start their business on the side. And the thing is that a lot of business coaches, they might be really skilled from what they do in their 9 to 5, or they're already seeing results in that side business. So they're amazing at being a business coach, but they're not transparent with, I still have a 9 to 5. And that was something so refreshing about you that stood out to me right away. Cause I've seriously never seen someone ever be like, yeah, I'm still in my 9 to 5 and I'm doing this and I'm actually crushing both. And my goal is to be going full time in my business. And like, I'm almost there, but just letting people in on that journey with you. So like I commend you on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I honestly didn't realize how many people weren't sharing the crossfade is like what I call it. Um, because I think everybody wants to seem like they are this authority figure that, just gets it and is so good at what they do and makes all this money and didn't need time to like learn. And this just it's extremely like it just makes people feel like alienated from themselves and like wondering if what they're doing is right. And so I really wanted to be transparent in my business in like every area possible. So I started my business in October of 2022. So like a little bit over a year ago, I
Yeah.
like officially opened an LLC. But at that time, I was just like a content creator and I was getting brand deals. So it was like for a totally different or like totally different thing. I wasn't even
Right.
doing like coaching at the time.
Right.
And so yeah, I was working as an engineer full time virtually and doing my business and figuring it out for I don't know 9 months maybe like until July of the following year is when I quit my job. And throughout that time I kept telling people like yeah, I'm doing both. Even if I was making money, even if I was getting clients, I kept reminding people that I'm doing both because like you said, um I've seen so many clients come to me and they like quit their job because they were told like yeah, just like jump into the abyss and like take the leap, and then
Yeah.
they do everything out of desperate energy and they actually don't really make it in their business. They get stressed and then they go back to their job and they feel like they failed. So it's so important to like wait. I like waited until I made $30,000 in sales in a month before I quit because I knew that I wanted to feel safe and sure and confident and not worried.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is there's so many business coaches teaching how to be a business coach when they've never built a business. It makes no sense to me.
Literally.
Wild. And it's really hard to even figure that out as a potential client. Like when you're trying to find a business coach, it's
Yeah.
really hard to figure out who actually has built a business and they're not building one and finding success like with numbers on social media and stuff because they're selling being a business. Like it's
Hmm.
so confusing. It's really hard
Yeah.
to differentiate who actually knows what they're talking about and
Hmm.
who is getting results from like they just started 3 months ago, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It's like this weird circular logic of like they built up being a business coach by promising other people they could build your business, but they've never made money otherwise, and it's
Right.
so weird.
Right. That's what
So,
I'm gonna say.
yeah, I don't even like I technically like call myself a content marketing coach because like that's where my like I had years of experience in content and
Yeah.
then working with some business owners on the side in like sales and marketing before I ever advertised myself as being able to do that.
Right.
And I really agree with you. There's so many unethical things. And business coaching, like that term and that title is just kind of like thrown around and used by everyone,
Yeah.
even if they don't have that business experience. And yeah, I totally agree. That's why I like built myself as a content creator, worked with brands, like learned social media for years before I ever like became a coach in that field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why you actually know what you're talking about and you actually get results for your clients, which is what I wanted you to brag about because I know people listening to us might be like, who are these girls? Why would I listen to you? What's going on? And I
Yeah.
want you to tell them why you know what you're talking about and just brag about yourself, even if it's uncomfortable for a few minutes, about the results that you're already seeing in your business and some results that you've seen had for your clients
Yeah,
or that
absolutely. Um, I honestly like my clients that I'm currently working with are just like getting insane results, not because only like we talk about like content and strategy, but because I also like help them find their individuality in their content and their personal brand and work through like supporting them and cheering them on. I feel like so many people right now in like the marketing space, either they have like bro marketing tactics or they're very like data driven and you like lose your voice and like you lose yourself but trying to follow the rules and like follow the structure. So a few clients just in like the last month, they each were making like $2,000 maybe a month, and three of them are now making like $6,000 in 48 hours, $10,000 in 2 weeks. Like one of my clients who came to me has made $34,000 in the last 3 months working together, and that's just like at my group coaching program. Like that's not even at the one-on-one level, which I know like they're going to do amazing things as we continue to work together. But um, yeah, like I just have seen so many wins and it's so cool. Like every day I'm showing a different client win. I'm not somebody who like recycles the same two people. I know a lot of coaches do that. They'll just recycle the same few people they've helped years ago and they don't have like new wins to show. But yeah, I don't even know how to begin talking about all of them because there's so many. And a lot of them just come to me making a few $1,000s and then I help them create 5-figure months for themselves so they can really just like keep growing and scaling and attracting dream clients. So
And I want you to brag about yourself real quick too. What are the results that you've seen in the time that you were at your 9 to 5 and where you're at now?
yeah, that's a good question. So I want to preface it by saying like because I'm really big on transparency, like
Yeah.
I was making negative money for like the 9 months prior to me quitting my job, even
Yeah.
though I had like 6 months in, I got like two high ticket clients that were paying me like a couple $1,000s a month for coaching. I was doing a lot of work for them and didn't know my worth, and I was investing in mentorship, so I wasn't even making a profit.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't like give up or like think it wasn't possible. I just like kept going and know I knew that one day I was going to be successful. So I wasn't focused on like the current outcome. It was like always an assumption that I was going to be making like 5-figure months and now I'm shooting for 6 figures. So um I've recently been able to achieve like $50,000 months in sales and
That's
cash has been
amazing.
around it's been amazing. That's like sales. So cash has been around like 20,000 plus and it's been like recurring. So that was like throughout the summer and then this past month I had a week where I had like $45,000 in sales and cash has been over the 20,000. So it's been an incredible process of like going from nothing to that much. And it was like seemingly overnight, but there were so many months that like people don't see where I wasn't getting, that
So
level of success. And so I
yeah.
like reminding people of that.
Yeah. And as a manifestation coach, I just heard you say something that piqued my interest. How you said, I assumed it was going to happen before it was going to happen. So,
Hmm.
you know, do you use manifestation intentionally?
Honestly, I don't know if I do anything in practice, but I try to have my mind right.
Yeah.
And I really try to like use the law of assumption when I can, and like make sure that like I use language that's like certain rather than like uncertain. So like I say when instead of if when I'm talking about my
Mhm.
goals, and I don't like think about like the daily outcomes or like how things are going to happen. Like I think a lot of business coaches are like, okay, you want to hit like $100,000 months. Let's reverse engineer to the exact amount of people you need to have and the exact amount of pricing you need to have. And I don't worry about that. I just
Yeah.
know it's going to happen, and I don't try to like engineer every little thing and every little step to get there.
Right. I don't do that either. I
So
think when you
yeah.
focus on the numbers like that and make it too technical, it sucks all the fun out of it.
Yep.
It doesn't really leave room for, God, universe, whatever you believe in, to
Mhm.
sprinkle that magic in. If you're like, I'm gonna have these numbers, da 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 da, because that's just making you too involved in the how, which isn't your responsibility.
Exactly, exactly. And I've learned that from your content, and yeah, like personal development that I've done, because I think that's huge for entrepreneurship. Um like there's you can get sucked into like I really feel like that's also like the masculine way of doing business, and like all of like the data and the analytics and the metrics, and they if you can get sucked into that and think, okay, I have to sell X amount of people at X price point, and then you just like get lost in the sauce and you lose your voice and you lose
Yeah,
the excitement and the fun. Whereas like if you release that, and like you're still using strategy, it's not like you abandon strategy, but it's like a mix, it's a
absolutely.
balance. And I think that's
Yeah.
like the more fun way of doing business anyway, and people are going to be attracted to that.
Right. And the strategy is the you doing your part of it. And then you let, universe do the rest. And so it's never you're just sitting, on the couch thinking, oh,
Yeah.
something's gonna happen to me. And the cool thing is learning strategy that works. It feels sparkly. It feels like you're manifesting because you are learning to do your part. And that's your intuition saying, this is it. This is the correct steps. And when it doesn't feel
Yep.
good, it's like, no, this isn't what's going to work for you and your accounts. Like, your Instagram, your TikTok, whatever. But when you find something, if you feel kind of like a sparkly vibe around a reel that you're making, or if you're hearing a coach and they're telling you steps that your intuition is saying like, yes, 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 Katelin, listen to this, then
Yep.
you're on the right path to do your part of it.
Exactly. I ever since you talked to me about like the sparkling emoji, like feeling that, I
Yeah.
think about that all the time because it's so true. But yeah, what I really try to do like strategy wise is I give my clients like the framework or like the psychology of how to frame an idea when they have it to be able to convert. So like I'm not trying to like take away the creativity. It's like when you have that sparkly feeling, when you have that amazing idea that you want to share in your niche, in your industry, or share to your potential dream clients, you know how to phrase it in order to make sales. Like you
Right.
know what steps to walk through, you know what's important to touch on. So like it leaves room for you and your creativity, but also is doing the job of like selling for you without having to like be super analytical and step by step and pre-planned all the time.
Right. And by the
Yeah.
way, what we're talking about, the little sparkle emoji, is that the twinkle emoji with the three little stars.
Hmm.
That's in one of my videos I was talking about. That's what it kind of feels like when you're like right on the money with your intuition. It feels like that little sparkle emoji. So that's what we're talking about. If people are listening, going, what's going on? That's that. But what you're saying is that it's not that your ideas are wrong. It's that you're not formatting them in the right way for your ideal customer to go, oh, that's me. Because you can have the best service in the world. Like I could be the best hypnotherapist on the planet. But if I'm not A, sharing what I do, no one's going to know about it. And B, sharing it in a way that they see themselves like, oh, she can help me because she was here or her clients were here and now they're there. If you're not talking to them in the right way, it's like you're not even there. They don't even see you. You're a ghost. And you can't help
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. They don't know that it's for them. They don't make the connection themselves. And I that like goes back to something that I posted actually today. Somebody commented on one of my social media posts, you don't have to sell yourself if you're that good. And I like laughed so hard when I read it, and I'm like, you're missing the point. Like, besides the fact that like marketing and sales is like fundamental to business, but what content marketing does organically is shows people that you're good. It shows people you're for them, because there's so much noise. There's so much social media is so saturated, and a lot of people don't realize like that you're for them until you show them. And there's no harm in that. That's not like desperate energy. That's not like wrong. It's not icky. It's
Exactly.
it's how
And
you're gonna scale.
everyone has to sell themselves or else you don't know it exists. Apple sells themselves. Like what it's so bizarre to me when people say stuff like that
Yeah.
because every anyone that first off, everyone needs money to live life
Hmm.
to survive. And we're not here to just survive. We're supposed to flourish. And so obviously you have to sell your products or your services or whatever you do. Every company sells. So it's so confusing to me when people write on, TikTok saying, oh, she's just doing this to sell this or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yes, but I'm also giving so much free content. Like all of this is free. And
Hmm.
also, yes, this is a business. And to be able to get my tools, yes, you have to pay for them. Like
Yeah,
it's
100%. It
it's
blows my
bizarre.
mind because people don't say that about big companies like Apple. You're right. Like
Yeah.
they like to just assume, oh yeah, like they're marketing themselves, but then it comes to like a personal brand or somebody selling like their own coaching or online service, and then everybody wants to say like, oh, you're just trying to sell your course or whatever. And it's like, why don't you have that energy towards big companies? Because there's no face behind them, like because you're jealous that somebody else, like this is a person that's making money and you're not. I'm not sure, but it's ridiculous.
I don't know the answer either. And you would think that people would want to give their money towards people that are really
Yeah.
going to help people. And it's like, I'm saving you time by taking years and literal like tens of thousands of dollars that I've put into figuring this out. And I'm putting it into one resource
Yeah.
to collapse time and be able to get from where you want for where you are to where you want to be, and you want me to give it to you for free, which makes no sense. And also when you give things people for free, they treat it as if it's worth
Yeah.
nothing,
A hundred
literally worth
percent.
nothing. Like we can give you freebies all day long and they're sitting in your email collecting dust.
I totally agree with that. I actually don't even have freebies anymore because I feel like they don't do anything and it's for the wrong type of person. I like truly believe my ideal client realizes the value of what I do and I don't have to like give them something for free for them to see it. So I totally agree with that. And I also think that people confuse like marketing and sales with like convincing people. People think that like to market yourself properly, it means you have to convince people and you shouldn't have to convince people. But it's not about like you desperately convincing people that you're it. It's just about like showcasing your knowledge about their problems and what they need in a way that organically sells yourself without doing like icky calls to action if you don't want to. If you do want to, that's cool. Without doing like super like hard selling all the time, right? Like there's a way for you to showcase what you're worth without like it feeling like you're convincing people all the time because that's not the energy that it's about.
Right. And any service provider doesn't want to convince you anyway. It's like we
Yeah.
be attracting in the people that are meant for us, that it's a, perfect match to work together. And I don't need to convince you. Like the content is showing you what I do and what results we can have. Like I don't need to be messaging you, trying to convince you to get in, and I won't be doing that.
100%. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. What are like the top 1 to 3 mistakes that you see creators doing that keeps them from making sales? Like how we were talking
Yeah.
about, have the idea, but they're not saying it right.
100%. That's a good question. I can think of a million, but the top three I would say is number one, just providing value and just giving information and education over and over again, especially like when they do it from a place of not knowing how to like use information for sales. So like if they're showing up every day, like here are 3 tips, here are 3 tricks, here's how to do this, they give it all away and they don't leave anybody wondering like what's next or if there's more for them. That's something I so commonly see because TikTok and Instagram strategists, experts, whatever, um, will tell you things for views, and those things usually perform well because people love free information, but they don't actually drive sales. So that's a huge thing that I see people making the mistake on. You can provide information if you would like, but you have to balance it or say it in a way that you know is going to drive sales because otherwise you're just giving everything away for free and you're not building your business, and that's extremely frustrating. And then you're not even going to be able to like create the content anymore because your business didn't succeed. So
Right.
the second thing is like this weird trend of storytelling on social media, especially on TikTok. There's this like whole thing where gurus tell you to create storytelling content, and I literally have the ick it's like the opposite of the sparkly emoji when I say that phrase because I hate it so much.
The throw
Like
up emoji.
actually vomit. Yeah, it's like the clown every time I think of it. Like
Yeah.
every person interprets that phrase different. Like some people are like, okay, do I talk to the camera? Do I tell my own story? Do I tell a client story? Do I just have to say things interestingly and like do a vlog? Like what the hell does that mean?
Mhm.
The truth is that like it just means like delivering things in a way that's intriguing, but people like will misconstrue it and not use it right, and they think they have to tell their whole life story over and over again, and it's just like exhausting and it's not doing anything for anyone. So that's like the second mistake. And then I think the third mistake too is like people not understanding sales. So when they create content, they either like don't sell at all or like completely hard sell. So like they'll create free information, free information, free information, and then they go to create a piece of content and it's like, okay, this is all about my program, but they don't know how to find the balance, which is about like talking about the problems and the desires and the objections and your unique solution without doing free information on one end of the spectrum and without like hard selling on the other. And there's like this beautiful balance where you can like talk passionately but actually naturally convert. And so those are probably the three things that I think people make mistakes in.
Yeah, that's gold. So thank you. And do you think that you need to do a mix of those different types of content, or do you purposely sell in every one of your videos?
Good question. I actually basically use like buyer psychology and try to sell in every video. There was a time when I had so many inquiries. I think I had like 45 people apply to work with me in 5 days, and I was like getting really overwhelmed. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna actually intentionally not create content for conversions and applications and inquiries. I'm just gonna create content for views. And because I deeply understood the difference, I was able to control my lead flow and my conversion rate and decrease it when I was overwhelmed. So then I just created content like that was more informational, educational. I was talking about Instagram versus TikTok strategy at a high level and gave actual steps for implementation. I was doing like Loom videos and screen recording and showing people different things, and they didn't really bring in leads, but that was the point. I wanted to just give things away for free, not try to sell myself for what I'm doing. And it helped me be able to like control my business and feel like I have just like basically control over it all, which is like such a safe and stable feeling.
Yeah. Well, having too many leads is a great problem to have.
I agree.
Um, yeah. What I wanted to ask was well, first off, I want to say you don't have a huge, Instagram following, neither do I.
Yeah.
I have like 3K, you have like 1K. And I want to point
Yeah.
that out because I think a lot of people that aren't in the industry yet or haven't started creating yet think that numbers equal sales, like followers equal sales. And so they think someone with 100K followers is making, at least 100K per year or per month or whatever. And they could be making literally nothing. Like there's people that have huge audiences and don't sell at all. And there's people that have very small audiences that are making 5 or 50K a month, like how you are. So I want to point that out because I think that's really misunderstood. And can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that with how you're able to make such high numbers and build such a successful business with a smaller following?
Yeah. Super good question. I actually hit $50,000 months in sales when I had 500 Instagram followers and 5,000 TikTok followers. So like
That's
nothing
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I actually have clients come to me and want to work with me specifically because I know how to utilize that to showcase why I'm good at what I do instead of it being a weakness. Because some people will see, why would I work with that? Like, why would I work with Jazz? She doesn't have a lot of followers, but she claims to be like a content coach. And I say, well, yeah, my competitors have 10 to 20, maybe even 100 times the amount of followers that I do. And they're making like the same amount of income or maybe like twice as much. So it's like not even proportional. I'm just like able to sell so well. And I
Yeah.
showcase that they can do it too because they're in the same boat with their level of followers. And so I use it as like a strength, you know?
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm able to do that at a smaller scale and have that level of result with not as many followers is because I know how to differentiate myself. And like that's how I teach my clients to generate sales without huge followings is a lot of people are following marketing strategies that like make them blend in with the noise. They're like copying what's viral, seeing what their competitors are doing, just answering questions that people are asking instead of knowing how to highlight their individuality and their unique approach. But when you can do that and you can showcase how you're different and how your solution is different and how your unique solution ties to what the ideal client really wants and values, that's when you're going to be able to make so much more money without needing more followers. So that's really what I've been able to do. And so how I did that personally was highlighting my experience as a content creator, highlighting my experience as somebody who knows sales psychology, and then highlighting my experience as somebody who has gotten client results for like any industry and was able to like help people with their own individuality, because these marketing programs usually treat you like a number. So all of those things like have played into it, and more differences like evolve as like I grow and I share more and more of that. But that's a huge thing too, that a lot of clients come to me struggling with because they're following cookie cutter advice. So like I had a client of mine who was actually a marketing person, but she was struggling to do it herself. And we found something in her like work history where she worked for Target, and she had all this like secret knowledge of Target marketing tips. And I told her to start using that in her content. And now she's getting so like, she was stuck in 200 view jail for like probably a year. And now she's getting like 10 to 20,000
Wow.
views on TikTok, sharing this and getting clients who are interested in her experience. And it shows how she's an authority, a figure of authority in a unique way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you say that you mainly use agitational content, or do you feel like you balance that with problem awareness? What kind of content do you lean towards?
Honestly, I try to do like a common, I like have developed my own like framework that uses like problem awareness in it, but like has some other things as well. But what I really try to do in my videos is talk about all of it. So I don't just do like problem awareness or just like agitational or just talk about the solution. I try to do like all of it in one. And so like I'll start by talking about like a symptom of a problem, talk about the root problem, and then I'll move towards like what they really want and a objection of what they think is holding them back, which is not really like, oh, and you don't need more followers, or you don't need this XYZ thing you're assuming you do. And then I move to my solution, but it's not just here's my solution. I know how to position it in a way that shows how it's different and why that difference matters. And so I try to do like all of those 5 things together. And that's like a fundamental thing in the frameworks that I teach my clients, because I don't think just focusing on those one of those things is as impactful as doing it all in one. And that's how I am able to get like $10,000 clients from like a single TikTok, because I know how to do all of that in a single TikTok.
Yeah, because they're that powerful. That sounds like, because there's so much intention behind the video, and I'm sure for you it's a lot more like muscle memory now, so that when you're
Yeah.
film, you don't have to put so much work into it. But obviously, when you're first starting out, that sounds like a lot. Do you script your videos, or do you just start talking?
I actually, because you've mentioned muscle memory, I know how to just do it on the fly.
Yeah.
But with my clients, I basically like in my group program in the Content Strategy Accelerator, for instance, I give them about like 8 frameworks that gives them the step-by-step logic. It doesn't tell them like what to say, and it's not like super fluffy. It's like very specific psychology of what to say and an example, and it helps them personalize it to their idea. So
Right.
I'll give them like the 5 steps I mentioned to you. It depends on how many and what the video is about. And they're able to step through it themselves. So they don't have the practice, but they're able to like script or prepare or speak to it without having like that practice and muscle memory like I do. So I've been able to like take my skill of being able to do that and then create a resource for my clients so they can learn it too.
Right.
Because I've really believed that there's this huge disconnect when people learn marketing, they have a hard time connecting it to how to implement it. And I was like, how can I like bridge that gap? Because it's so hard when people like quote unquote get it for them to actually do it. And that was like the solution I came up with. And it's been fantastic. People are getting so many great results from it.
Right. And then I'm sure as they start with scripting, but then it gets to become
Yeah.
muscle memory for them too. So that's amazing. And because of what I was trying to say, and then I got on a tangent, but in the beginning, it takes a lot of time for them to craft this video. How often do you recommend that they post during the week? How many times
Yeah.
a day, or
Honestly, I'm somebody who's not a huge like planner. I don't like being that way. I especially like with TikTok, I'm not somebody who like batch creates and like is super like intentional with like timing and number of posts. I recommend at least once a day. Like that's like the baseline. If you can
Mhm.
do like up to 3, that's fantastic. But honestly, one a day is solid. Of course, like when you're like a real beginner and you are struggling talking to the camera, you're struggling figuring out your ideal client, and you have more things to figure out, being on the higher side of posting 3 times a day is going to get you through the practice period more. But if
Mhm.
you already have like a solid grasp of your ideal client and you know what you do and what you want to talk about, once a day is like perfectly enough.
And are you including weekends in that?
Oh, good question. Yeah. Yes, ideally. But personally, there's sometimes I don't post for like 5 days. But that's because I'm solid in my lead flow.
Right.
So like I don't need to like post because I feel comfortable and I just focus on my clients. But it depends on the phase you're in. So like one of
Right.
my clients this 2 weeks ago, she had a video using one of my formulas that is nearly at 400,000 views on Instagram, and she's getting like 5 applicants a day and like dozens of comments and inquiries and DMs a day. And so she's not posting as much of the outreach content because she has so many new people coming in right now.
Right.
So I like honestly do that so that way people can go with the ebb and flow of their business instead of like pre-planning it out and not being able to control that.
How do you feel about the length of the video? Like, do you aim between a certain minute mark or just whatever comes out?
Yeah, I honestly try to do at least a minute. But I honestly just genuinely talk that much anyway. So it's not really like thought out that much there. And if it's like up to 3 minutes, it's totally fine. I've had a video that's like 7 minutes and got like 30,000 views. So I would say like just TikTok likes the 1 minute plus, but if you create a video once in a while and it's 30 seconds, like don't try to add more because that's just gonna hurt you of boring people and reducing your watch time anyway.
Right.
And then on Instagram Reels, I try to do like 7 seconds for like those trendy ones because
Yeah.
Instagram Reels is just like so far behind and different than TikTok.
It's so different.
Yeah, it's so different.
I feel like I just recently cracked the code for Reels for me in the last few weeks. One of mine it's at 3.6 million right now, and then a couple other ones hit in those higher ranges. And that was the first time, like I've been on Instagram for years, and
Yeah.
I, in my defense, or maybe this whatever, but I never posted on Instagram. Like I gave up, and so I was only posting in my stories. And
Mm.
I'm a TikTok girly, so I was only posting in my stories like randomly. Once upon a time, I would do a post, and then I hired a social media team to just start doing posting for me because I just didn't want to do it. And as they were doing it, and I, worked with them, and I actually ended up having to, it wasn't the best match of
Mm.
your team,
Mm-hmm.
but I obviously had to review everything before it happened, and I did all the copywriting and everything. So I ended up doing most of it myself. And I was like, oh, okay, so I get the format now. And so it was really beneficial for me, even if it didn't work out exactly the way I thought it would, because I thought, okay, they'll just take my TikTok, take exactly what I said and format it into Instagram speak.
Yeah.
And instead, it didn't work out that way. But I learned how to do reels. And I'm like, this is way, way easier than TikTok. It's 5 to 10 seconds, usually, like you said, around 7. I'm like, why haven't I been doing this? This takes me, maybe 20 minutes to find an audio and put it with a couple clips that I already have. And then I speak the way that I would on a video, but I like don't have to look the least amount presentable because I'm not even on the screen.
Yep.
Or I can take one of my TikToks and just take one sentence from my TikTok. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I've been seeing your Instagram Reels because they've been so good and now I watch them and they keep popping up. And I love that you found like your own way of showing up there that works. Has it been doing well in terms of like conversions as well? Have you been finding that?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say conversions with the people joining my membership. I think a lot of people have joined, like gotten my freebie, and then I've had about 1,500 new followers in the last 2 weeks. So conversions in the way, like that's great because they're part of my audience now. And I'm sure, well, I think you are an amazing seller, but for me, at least, it usually takes people to follow and they need to warm up a little bit, and then
Mm-hmm.
they learn who I am and hop in. So I guess it's a little too soon to tell with the conversions, but, and obviously now they're like on my email list through my freebie and everything. But so yeah, it's been really great. And I think in the past, anytime that a video has done somewhat well on Instagram, like no followers would come from it either, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's been cool because I'm like, okay, I think I finally get how to be me on this app, and I'm doing like it's my thing. Like I'm doing I'm not like stealing an idea from someone else. It's like very my thing. And then I'm able to talk about all the topics that I usually talk about, but in my formatting. So it's been really
Yeah.
cool.
I love that so much. I also wanted to touch on, like, you were mentioning you hired a social media team,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people who are making like thousands a month realize, okay, like maybe like the social media help is going to get me to the next level. But I will tell you that like 9 times out of 10, social media like agencies or teams or managers don't actually understand content for sales. They just know how to get you like more views or more engagement, or just reduce your time is like the only thing they're giving
Yeah.
you. And it's like way better for what you've like learned for you to kind of like learn it and be able to implement it yourself. And then if you in the future ever have like an assistant or somebody, you can teach them what works and like give them the strategy, and then they go execute it, because a lot of people don't have it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you were saying, it really was just supposed to be like to cut down my time. And I wasn't, like I said, I didn't post on Instagram. So I thought, okay, we'll just see if I can get this rolling again. And I post on my stories almost every day. And so that wasn't different. And that's always, me doing everything. But I thought, okay, I don't know how to do reels. We'll just see what goes on here. And it ended up being, yeah, a huge learning lesson because I learned how it goes on there, which is completely different. And I'm not a scroller on Instagram or TikTok really. So I had no idea. Obviously, I had figured out what works from TikTok and my audience. So I had no idea like what was even going on Instagram, like what people do over there. And now I actually enjoy reels more, like scrolling through and supporting others and talking to others through there. But yeah, it was like I've been MIA on the posting there for years.
Yeah, it's amazing that you were able to like get these results. You like took the time to like figure it out yourself and find something different and experiment with it, and now you're gonna like you're popping off, which is amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, it's just fun when you figure it out. And I think that's like why working with someone like you, it cuts down the time because you've seen, you worked with so many clients, the different niches and what happens. And usually formatting can work, overall for people. And then it's just finding once you start things and experimenting, it literally feels like an experiment. And you're like, okay, well, let's just try this and let's try this. And something I did try when a couple reels were popping off, I tried doing those little funny lip syncing, audios, which work for me on TikTok fine. And I don't do a lot of them, but I find if I hear one, I'm like, oh, that's so fun and funny. And the one I did was like a Schitt's Creek one. And it was David, from Schitt's Creek. So
Yeah,
I
I
was
love
having the
Schitt's
best
Creek.
time. And then I did like one other one, I don't remember what it was, and those flopped. So it's like things are gonna flop. And on Instagram, people don't want to see me being funny. They're like, we're not into it. So you try things out and you tinker with it, and it's fun to see. And you have to not be afraid of the flops.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I actually had like a family member talking to me about my business recently, and she was like, I feel like the reason why you're successful in your business, part of it is because like you fail fast and you fail hard. And like
Mhm.
that goes to like the same with social media, like you mentioned, is like you trying things, realizing it doesn't work, and you just like keep going, which I see you do. And I truly believe that like my clients that get results versus ones that like don't have as big wins are the people who fail fast and fail hard. Like they take what I give them and they like go do it, and they don't take every potential flop or loss as like something. They don't make it personal, right? They
Yeah.
realize, okay, now I have new data and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep investing and I'm going to keep pushing, because like law of assumption, I know I'm going to be successful. And that's like the best thing you can do is like just like keep going and like take every like quote unquote failure as like a realization of something that's going to push you towards what's right. So it's like really important even in your daily content, because it's not always going to be, even if you find what works, you can try something else and that completely goes bad. So it's not like you always like are going to crack the code and have everything figured out. So
Yeah, absolutely. I always think of failure as feedback. And also in manifestation, like in my process, there's often a step that doesn't happen every time, but I call it advance through challenge. It's when things look like they're really not working. You're like, I'm manifesting this, whether it's an audience or a business or views or, whatever. And then, so you're like, okay, I'm manifesting 5,000 followers or whatever. And then you just go through like flop after flop after flop. That's your challenge, because you can easily look at it and be like, oh, okay, this isn't working at all. Like, I'm Delulu. I'm going to send myself home. Great. Or you see it as the challenge that you have to walk through, which is part of the process that basically God, universe is saying, okay, she says she wants this, which this comes with, sometimes hate comments. This comes with a lot of responsibility of talking to this type of audience. Can she hold that? Can she handle that? Or is she going to wither and shrink back to herself that has been keeping herself small, So if you say like, okay, I'm getting flop after flop, but I'm still here, that's oftentimes right after when the manifestation comes through, because you're showing like, nope, I do want this. I can handle this. And I'm going to handle it when things are, looking like they're not working out, because faith isn't faith until it looks like it's not working.
Yeah, I love that so much. You phrased it so powerfully. I know like even before I quit my job, I felt like the universe was testing me because my job was like asking, like basically talking about like promoting me and like giving me awards, and like it was
Yeah.
like the universe was testing me. Are you really going to quit, or are you going to be tempted by this thing dangling in front of you? And I also have seen it like with people's content. I had somebody who went viral with a particular type of video, and they did it like one or two other times and it did well. And then the third or fourth, it just like flopped and it got like no feedback or engagement or like follows that she thought it would. And she was like, all right, maybe I've just like overdone this type of video. And I actually gave her like some things to tweak to help her with that piece of content, and she tried it again and it like went better than all of the other ones before as well, and she made like tens of thousands of dollars from that one video. So I also try to encourage people like, yeah, I love that idea that it's feedback, but it's not feedback that it's wrong. It's feedback that you can always like refine that idea. Like, don't abandon
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And like when I was saying to I always want to call them voiceovers, but that's not what it is. The lip syncing. It's like, I tried it a couple times. Like, don't just try something one time and whatever, and I think especially on Instagram, it takes time. It takes my one that went really viral. It didn't even start showing views until a week after I posted. So it's like, don't delete your stuff. No one cares if you have 10 views on something. Like, you're the only one that cares. No one is paying attention. Literally, no one cares.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like there's posts of mine that maybe got like 1,000 views and they've brought me thousands of dollars.
Yes.
So I think that people like overplay the wrong metrics. So I actually wanted to ask you too, just like as an exercise that I do with my clients, what makes your membership different than any other like manifestation tools out there?
I think the biggest thing is my tools, like what you just said. A lot of manifestation programs are inspirational stories about how they manifested something, which are super inspirational, and they get you all like, in that high vibe state where you're like, oh, I'm all excited. And you can manifest some things from being in a high vibe, but high vibe only lasts so long because we're humans. So we feel, fear, doubt, human emotions, we get our period, this and that. So I
Mm-hmm.
manifest from power, not emotion, because emotion's like a roller coaster, which when you have the tools to regulate your nervous system, you don't have to feel like you're on a roller coaster. But when you manifest from power, it's knowing that I can feel shitty right now. And I've had this happen to me where I'm watching Real Housewives feeling shitty and I have payments coming through, or one of my videos goes viral. And it's because you only need to feel high vibe in that one time that you're setting the intention. And then you're just working on your power through. We manifest 95% from our subconscious mind and only 5% from conscious. So in those other manifestation programs, you're getting that 5% conscious of like, oh, this is great information, but there's not the implementation of the tools. And hypnotherapy and EFT are my two biggest things for rewiring your subconscious, so that you don't have to be policing your thoughts all the time. It's just, as your subconscious changes your beliefs to I am enough, I am lovable, I am deserving of all the money I want, I'm deserving of the time freedom, whatever it is, then you don't have to those thoughts don't pop up all the time like they used to, because you were running from programming that's like, I'm not good enough. I'm going to be working in a 9 to 5 forever with the, salary I don't want. You don't have to be doing that. It happens less and less. And then you're manifesting even when you feel shitty.
I
So
love that.
that's where mine's different, is I think the tools are usually missing. And that's why in my content too, you can get so much of the information that's in those programs for free. And what I'm offering in my program is the tools for implementation, like the actual rewiring of everything. And there are modules in there too, talking about how things work, why they work, but it's mainly like just plug in your headphones, like let's get this shit going,
Yeah, that's amazing. So since you've been getting the influx of traffic now, have you been talking about like the one thing that really like uh hit me that I think is like the highly converting for what you just said is focusing on the 95% that people can't get either from your content or from other people's like high vibe fluff programs. Have you been
Yeah.
talking about that on your stories since you've been getting people in there?
I do. Well, I've had a couple of reels that I've talked about that recently, but in my stories, I feel like I haven't been honestly selling that much in the last couple of weeks, because I was with my family for Thanksgiving. And then right before that, I was watching my nephew for like a week. So I wouldn't say you'd be super proud of me in the way I'm showing up in my stories. I've mainly been like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's my reels. And then when people send me, I have really amazing members that send me feedback, which is great. And then I can say like, here's the results that they're having, or I'm having new people join, but I haven't been doing what you would want me to be doing, which is talking about the whole thing as often. Like there's been periods where I really get into it and I'm like, boom, 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 selling, selling, selling. And I have all that come in. And then I just like,
Yeah.
back,
Yeah, I totally understand that. I would actually like the next time you feel inspired to create stories and zoom into like various parts of that entire thing rather than the entire thing at once and
Yeah.
talk about like the 5% versus 95%. Like that should be like an entire story or story sequence. And I think you'll get a lot of people that are new to your world be interested in buying if you talk about
Yeah.
the power of that. And some of those other things you mentioned too, like zooming into them that really make it clear like how you're different and how like you don't have to like police all of your thoughts in your stories, particularly because a lot of people aren't really seeing your reels all the time, but all
Yeah.
of those new people are going to be watching your stories now, and you can definitely like shrink the time in converting them than you usually would.
You're 1,000% right. And I do have that in my highlights. It just like, it's just one of those things. I feel like selling for me doesn't come naturally at all. So it's one of those things that like when I think about it, I'm like, okay, let's sit down. Let's like
Yeah.
get this out. And I also worry, which I know you're going to be like, stop it, knock it off. But I worry that I annoy the people that do show up for my stories every day. And I know that there's so many people that are new, like on each day watching, that have never heard what I've said a million times. So I
Yeah.
need to be doing it. But I do worry about that. I'm like, the people that are here, the people that are already in my membership, that like are ride or dies for me. Like, I don't want to be selling my tail off,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could talk about that forever, but it's the first thing is I know you said sales don't come naturally, but I would change that narrative because I asked you what makes you different and you were able to like pitch me on your entire membership for like 2 minutes straight and it sounded amazing. So I think it's just like maybe like when you're not prompted with it, you don't naturally start sharing, but if you do have that question posed, you know how to sell yourself. So I would definitely disagree with that statement you said. And the second thing is in terms of like being annoying people in your audience, I like sell on my stories like multiple times a week, and like my current clients are like actually like super engaged every time I do it. They're like, I love this, and they'll like like the
uh,
stories and like be like, yeah, I know you, that's my screenshot, I love that you posted it. And they feel like proud because they're proud to be a part of your offer and they love that you are growing. Like that's usually the clients, I know the clients that you have as well because they're of that energy. So you're
yeah.
definitely not going to annoy current clients. And in terms of potential clients, people need to see, this, like they need to see you speak over and over again to actually make the purchase. So in both instances, you're definitely not annoying people. And I would encourage you to sell multiple times a week.
Yeah, I just got the talking to that I needed. And I feel like I just got a mini coaching session, so thank you.
Of course.
How often do you sell on your stories, and do you do the talking to camera or do you do the writing the slides?
Yeah, it depends on my mood, to be honest. Like also like what phase I'm in my cycle, but like that plays a huge role in how much energy I have. So like sometimes I will just talk in my stories. Sometimes I'll write it all out. Sometimes I do a mix of both. And in terms of like selling, honestly, it's like nearly daily that I'm posting something that's related to like my offers. So I would say like 5 times a week. It's either like a client result or like letting them know what's happening or talking about like my group program or my mentorship. And then of those 5 times, maybe 3 times, I don't really have a formula. It's just like me trying to like guesstimate of the like 3 times, maybe I'm like really speaking directly or putting the link to apply or, having them DM me a keyword. So it's very often. And in terms of like followers lost, I think I lose like 1 follower a day and like I don't I don't really care. I'm like, okay, that
Yeah,
person wasn't for me. I'm honestly see like lost followers as a good thing
me
because
too.
those are people who I don't even want in my world anyway. They don't
Yeah.
resonate with me. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when you lose followers, it's like refining, like it just refining to those people that are like your people, just meant for you, you know?
yeah.
So I completely agree. There's a couple of things that I want to ask before we wrap up because I know I'm taking so much of your time. But you mentioned earlier bro marketing, and I wrote that down because I have no idea what that is. Can you explain
Oh,
what it is?
yeah, like bro marketing is just like that manly marketing and like these like agencies that pop up and like I don't want to say Alex Hormozy because I love Alex Hormozy, but it's like people like who try to be like him. I don't know how to explain it in like a tangible way, but it's like they're very like masculine in your face and like hard selling and they have like these cookie cutter tactics. So like where that reference is coming from particularly is when I was a content creator, I was hired as a creator to help this agency create content for brands. And so they were like the in between me and the brand and they had very like bro marketing tactics where it was like every brand had the same content that they were like planning out for each person. It was very cookie cutter. It was very like trendy or like in your face type of content. And I would not know how to explain it to you unless I showed you the vibe of it. But it's
It kind
kind
of
of
feels like when you're talking about, and this is like no, again, no insult to him because whatever works for everyone, but like Tony Robbins, maybe like in my industry about like really in your face, like you're suffering, like let's,
yeah,
like, is that the vibe?
100% the vibe. And
Okay.
it's like those captions that like change color and like are
Yes.
on this, yeah. And they have like quick cuts and they like use professional editing and people think they need to be like that to make money. I actually
Right.
saw this reel that I'm gonna like what they call it remixing on Instagram, but it's like I call it stitching because TikTok.
Yeah.
Where this guy was talking about like um if you're being like relatable in your content, you're never gonna like make money because people don't want to see you like in your pajamas. Like you need to level up your brand and like look aesthetic and like really like encompass and embody like being like a business owner. And I was like laughing the entire time. And I think this is just like how men think sometimes that like
Yeah.
you need to like have expensive equipment and like have these like crazy strategies and invest in an agency or whatever like their approach is. And like that's just like not true.
No, it's so untrue. Like it's wild because I'm literally in my PJs for probably 70% of my videos. And
Yeah, me too.
also, like I think both of us most of the time don't wear makeup. We wear it when we
Yep.
want to vibe. And the videos that perform the best are for me when I'm making a smoothie, eating my cereal in the morning, like literally just woke up eating my cereal and I like pause with my spoon to talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'm like putting makeup on or taking like doing skincare at the end of the night or in the morning or whatever. Like, I think that's a huge thing that I almost wouldn't do a video if I wasn't like doing one of those things, you know? Like I
Yeah.
would never like put makeup on and put an outfit on and do the whole try to look professional. I think that would be very detrimental to my like audience.
Yeah, I completely
Yeah.
agree. This actually is inspiring me to create more content around this because I know like that's just like the trend right now on Instagram particularly is like you look at any female entrepreneur not any, but like most of them, and they have these like really high quality brand photo shoots and very aesthetic content. Their feed is cohesive. They're wearing like, suits, and every day they have like a full glam, and that's totally cool. Like I think that if that's your like how who you are as a person, that's cool. But if
Yes.
that's not you, you do not need to do that to make money. And I've like fought like the advice, like some people are like, maybe you should like, get these certain photos or like do a certain thing. And I like have actively repelled that because I really believe that in the next couple of years, that's going to be like an ick to people, and it's going to be completely turned off because the trend I'm seeing right now, and especially a lot of the leads and clients I'm getting, is all people who came from programs that just like looked so good and was so focused on the image, and then the actual support and delivery was fluff and not tangible and not real. And so I'm seeing so many people come to me because they're like, you seem so real, you seem like you care. And it's because I don't try to like look a certain way or be a certain person.
Yeah.
um Plus all the other things that I do and talk about. But I really feel like that's going to be the trend where people like you and I who are showing up authentically are going to get more and more of these clients and customers because they've been burned by this like aesthetic trend that has been working for a few years, for all these people on Instagram and all these coaches.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that because that's one compliment that I get the most is my feed, because mine is really like colorful, kind of
Yes.
70s vibe, and it's like funky fonts and whatever. And that's what like lights me up and what is fun for me. And because it's so different than most feeds are the neutral with a pop of black, or there's like the whole other side of it that's kind of like the boss babe pinks, and because mine is so different, people are like, oh, what is this, like, who is this girl, and
Yeah,
it's refreshing.
I 100% agree. Like when I think of you, I already have like an image and it's so different than everybody else. And I think that's where like people misconstrue branding because they think branding needs to be like professional, right? Like in whatever, and not saying yours is not, but what the
No, it's
conventional view of the conventional view of a professional,
yeah.
right? It's like the neutral colors, the like boss babe energy, and it's very like everybody looks the same. Like if you look on Canva, right? Like most of the templates are the same of that type when you look for a professional, right? Or whatever word you want to use for that. And it's really important to like just express yourself, and like being cohesive is great. Like that's all you really need as a personal brand. I think people just like get caught up in like that other way of being.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I have two more questions for you, and then I swear I'm gonna let you
I'm
go.
not in a rush, so I love this
Okay,
conversation. It's no
great. I'm
problem.
just
Yeah.
loving this. And I feel like we've hit so many great things, but there's two things that I feel like if someone was listening to this, they would be wondering too. Do you have to sell high ticket to be able to, make an income that supports yourself?
Yeah, definitely not. You don't need to be selling high ticket. The thing is, like, if you are selling like lower ticket, you need to have the volume to support that. So I know, like, for you, and for instance, you focus more on your lower ticket offer, but you have the traffic to support that. So that's totally cool. But if you are somebody who like, um, maybe it just like has a smaller audience and you don't really like want to get to that level or whatever, high ticket is gonna be like the quicker way to like hit the income goals, but it's definitely not the only way, because you can focus on low ticket and focus on getting the reach you want as well in tandem with conversion. So it's a good question, and you definitely don't need to sell high ticket.
Okay, great. And then what platforms do you use? Because I know you're on TikTok and Instagram. Are there any other platforms that you use?
No, I honestly, the some people like really have great email marketing. I suck at email marketing. I don't think I've ever even emailed my email list like as a whole. Like there's I like created a wait list for something and I sent a couple of emails and it was so painful for me. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
like the I like to come off a certain way, and I feel like when I'm limited to just text and then I don't like using like an email editor template, it just like is so not fun for me, so I don't really do it. But yeah, I honestly just do Instagram and TikTok. Some people use Pinterest. I don't even have a website, so
Love that. Do
yeah,
you
that's
use
what I
like a
do.
stand store, or what do you use?
I have the way that my like business runs right now is, yeah, I have a stand store, but that's not really the primary link. I have a type form application that
Okay.
people fill out and can apply to work with me. And I know that I could be making even more sales if my process was better. Like right now, people go to apply and they don't even really know what they're applying for. It's just a link and it's like apply to work with me. And I still get like daily applications from it. So I don't have like the perfect structure. And I had a client yesterday ask me like, I feel like I'm in an analysis paralysis because I don't have like these like a website and a sales funnel and emails and like all these things to capture leads. And I'm like, you can literally have people DM you a keyword and then just sell them with a link or like
Yeah,
give them like a list of the programs and you can be able to make sales. Like it does not need to be what you're seeing everybody else do.
right. Wow, that's really refreshing because I think most people are taught like you need an email list and you need at least like a sales page.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
And
no, I definitely don't think you need any of that because like honestly, like with the way that my business has worked, especially like when I was growing, was I had the application process and then I would talk to people on Instagram DM or 15-minute call. If they were a good fit, I would send them the link and they would buy. And that's how I ran my business and it was super great. And it's like low overhead. I don't have like these things that I had to pay for, like a fancy website or like funnel or super expensive tools. I'm now gonna have like a website soon because like I have the funds to support the type of website I want instead of like half-assing one because I feel like I need one.
yeah,
But I feel like when you say things like this, a lot of like business, marketing, sales, like experts, gurus, coaches probably think like, oh, like that's terrible advice. Like you need that stuff. But they just say that because they don't know how to sell without it. And
right.
so they use it as a crutch and they think that that's like a sense of authority to like tell you how to build something properly instead of like you knowing how to organically sell without having to pay for some page or system. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And do you ever go live and do you ever use your TikTok stories?
TikTok stories occasionally, and sometimes I'll get like 10 likes on there, but I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe there's like those are like the people who love my TikToks and
Yeah.
like, you know,
I
yeah,
think no one knows what to do with those yet. I'm still
yeah.
just like, I don't know who goes here, but hey.
Yeah, it's definitely like your followers who like to see your stuff, you'll pop up as like a person, but it also pops up on the like I've seen your TikTok stories and maybe it was on my for you no, maybe it was on my following page. I think it might be just like push to followers mostly. But yeah, I think that TikTok doesn't even know what to do with them.
Yeah,
So
I don't think so either. I've been trying just pulling my Instagram like reels that are
yeah.
so small and putting them in the stories and people seem to like them there. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually a great. I think it's just fun to experiment there because it's not as serious and it's not really built well.
Yeah.
In terms of going live, I I have clients that go live nearly every single day, and I am not that type of person. I realize when I go live, I'm very drained after, like
Mhm.
because I'm talking nonstop and it's not like any feedback from a conversation. And so I like limit it. I think I've gone live on both Instagram and TikTok 3 times in the entire last 6 months
Yeah.
each. So, I've seen like I was on TikTok live and I when I'm on TikTok live, I have like maybe 100 viewers
Mhm.
and I have like a couple of people apply to work with me. But if I can just make a 10-minute, like take 10 minutes to create a video and not have to put all that energy out there, like that's what I prefer.
Right, because then your video lives on anyway.
Yeah. And
I've
it's like
never
less
gone
energy.
live. I just am curious because I feel like you always run into people that are like, you really should be going live. And I'm like, well, I don't want to.
I hate that advice. I don't think you should be doing, honestly, anything other than like posting consistently. Like that's like the most should that I would say. Yeah.
Right. Well, you're an absolute queen.
So
I'm
are
just
you.
so excited about this whole conversation. I can't wait for people to hear it. Please, if you're listening, message me or Jazz and tell us your biggest takeaway and where can they follow you on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. So my handle is at Jazz Media LLC. So JAZMEDIA LLC on both. And you can message me on Instagram if you ever want to chat. That's where I'm the most responsive. And thank you so much, Katelin, for having me. I'm so grateful to like have a friend in entrepreneurship like you, and I'm always rooting you on. So thank you.
I feel the exact same way about you. It's like we've mentioned before, it can get a little lonely in the online space. So it's just so nice to have you to bounce ideas off of, and we kind of catch up and see what's going on. And to be able to see your success in such a short amount of time has just been amazing. And I like can't even imagine a year from now what you're going to be doing. It's going to be amazing. And I'm very grateful to have you as a friend. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, I'm excited to put this out there, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.